everyone, this is Access Chapter 2. No, I'm sorry, Access Chapter 3. Access Chapter 3, I need to go back to Blackboard, don't I? Sorry about that. So we want to go into Blackboard, Access Chapter 3, and go to Assignments and see what we need. So Placer Hills database is what we're going to use in Chapter 3. And Chapter 3 is all about queries. And queries are really the workhorse of databases. You know, it's important to design and understand the table structures and to design your tables well and the relationships well. And the reason that you need to do that is so that this piece, the part where we're going to do our queries and use the data, works and correctly, appropriately, and easily. So we're going to download that Placer Hills and open it up. So queries are questions about the data, and I'm going to enable. And so let's just take a look at this database that we're going to work with. So there's two tables in this database, an agent and a listing table, right? And so in the agent table, the primary key is the employee number. That employee number is repeated in the listing table as the foreign key, meaning, and this would make sense, right? So this is a real estate company, so that employee you hope has more than one listing, right? So the listing tables is all about the property, and then it links back so you know which agent is in charge of that property. And it does that by repeating the primary key into the listing table. We can see that's a one-to-many relationship. Referential integrity is established, right? One-to-many, referential integrity. So when you get a new database and it's not one that you have built, you want to go into the relationships window. And remember, we did that under database tools, relationships, and just kind of look at get a lay of the land, see what pieces and parts relate to each other. All right, so we have that. Now we're going to be ready to build our queries. And so one of the things about the queries is, remember, data is only stored in the table. So what's stored in the query object is the question itself. And that's what we're going to learn how to build. How do we build these questions to get the answers that we want? How do we get to see the data in the order that we want? How do we get it to see what specific pieces of information, what records do we want to return? We're going to start off by doing a very basic query. So the question or the need is, the office manager wants to find all of the listings by agent Rick Chung, sorted. Oh, wait a minute, I'm in the wrong. I'm on 3.2. I was going to say, wow, we jumped ahead there. Sorry, on page 164. We're just going to create a new design, a query and design view, but let's see what are we going to do here. So we always need to know what your purpose of your query is. And so this query is, we're just going to show all of the listings, pieces of information about them. So we want to know the agent's name and last name and the agent's phone number, and then information about the actual listing. So we're going to have to bring those two things together. So the first thing we're going to do is create a new query. So we go to the create, we find the query, and usually 95%, 98%, you're going to do query design. There are some things that you use the wizard for, but really we're going to use the query design most of the time. So I'm going to click on query design, and it does the show table. So based on the question that you want and what you need to get the answer, determines what table or other query you use to as the foundation. In this case, we're going to use both agents and listings, and so all I did was I pressed my shift key and I selected both items. I'm going to say add and close, and then I'm going to come through here and make sure I see all of my data. Just makes it easier. The other thing I like to do is bring my grid, I call this the grid, up. Okay, so now we have to think about what pieces of information we want, and we want the listing ID. So over here in listing, I double click on listing ID, it appears down in the grid. Address, double click. City, double click. List price, double click. I just lost my place. Square foot, double click. Beds, double click. Baths, double click. Garage, double click. Alright, so now what I need is some information about the agent. So I need to come over here to the agents table, and I'm going to click on first name, last name, and phone. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 fields. I got all my fields. Cool. Alright, so I can hit run or I can hit the view button. In this case, because it's a select query, it doesn't matter which you do, run or view. So now what I see is I see 47 records. Cool. So I have every property that's listed in the listings table, and I have the associated agent that is that holds that listing, right? So I pulled data from these two tables together so I could look at it together. So I'm going to go ahead and do save, and we're going to call this query show all listings. All together, camel case, show all listings. Okay, and now we're going to get a new group over here, queries. See how it's got the double table? It's not just a single, that's a query, show all listings. All right, so I want to I only care about right now the listings that are in Roseville. So I want to go back to design view, and in the city column on the grid, down here, do you see this criteria row? And then there's a row that says or. So when you add things on the same row, they become an and condition. When you separate them on different rows, it becomes an or condition. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But we want to put the word Roseville tab. Once I do that, it puts the quotes around it. You don't need to do that. Notice I don't put the equal sign. If you leave a conditional operator off, less than, greater than, it will assume equal. So what I'm saying here is show me listing ID, address, city, ... where city equals Roseville. So now I'm going to run it, and look, now I only have 11. They're all in Roseville. Now if I save this, right now, show all listings will just be Roseville. So what I want to do is, I started with the show all listings, but I want to save this query as a different name. So that's something we really haven't done yet. It's a little, there's a lot of clicks to it. So let's just go File, Save. What did I just do? File, Save As. Helen. Okay, I had to fix my mistake. I clicked on the wrong thing. So make sure you do File, save as, save object as, save object as, save as. And it'll come up copy of show all listings. We want to change that to rows. Let's see, we're changing it to listings in Roseville. Okay. So now we have our two queries in there. If I do listings in Roseville, I have that. If I do all listings, I have them back. So I want to be in listings in Roseville, go back to design, and this time I want to just see, one of my clients only wants to see listings where there's an attached garage. So let me pull this up real quick, the show all. So if we look at the data in here, do you see it's got 3-car attached, 2-car attached? So there's some stuff in front of the word attached, right? So we need to somehow say for garage, we want just those with the word attached, and we no longer want it to be Roseville. So I'm going to get rid of Roseville. We just got to make sure that when we save our name as something else. So under garage, we want to do like, you know what, asterisk attached, and then tab for me, and it puts the rest in. Okay, so let me do that again. So we're saying asterisk, so we're saying I don't care what appears before it, just it has the word attached in it, and I don't care. That's at the end of this field. There's nothing that follows it. So now if I run it, I get 37, and they all say attached in there. So I want to do a file, save as, save object as, save object, save as, and this time we're going to do listings with attached garage. Okay, I'm going to close out of that, and so now I have these 3 queries. So here's my listing in Roseville. It's just the Rosevilles. Listing with attached garages, right? And then all the listings that we have, 57 of them. So we're done with chapter 3, pause and practice 1. All right, good luck.